Hi everyone, myself Dr. P. Soumya, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering College. In this session, I am going to discuss about water sources. So in this session, I am going to cover the topics water use and over utilization, floods, droughts, dams, and problems and benefits. Here natural resources. So here water, first one is water use and over exploitation, over utilization. So here due to its unique properties, water is of multiple uses for all living organisms. So this is having water, it is having unique properties. So it is having multiple uses of all living organisms. So water is absolutely essential for life. So most of the life processes takes place in water contained in the body. So water absolutely essential for life. Most of the life process takes place in water contained in the body. Uptake of nutrients, their distribution in the body, regulation of temperature and removal of waste are mediated through water. So we know that uptake of nutrients, their distribution in the body, regulation of temperature of the body and removal of waste from the body. So these all are mediated through the water. So human beings depends on water for almost every developmental activity. So water is used for drinking, irrigation, transportation, washing and waste disposal for industries and used as a coolant for thermal power plants. So it is having most multiple uses for human beings. So first one is drinking. It can be used in irrigation, transportation, washing and waste disposal for industries. And most important thing is it is used as a coolant for thermal power plants. So water shapes the earth's surface and it regulates our climate. So the water, it shapes the earth's surface and it regulates our climate. So groundwater, we have groundwater, surface water, so drain water, different waters. So here, this is about groundwater. So about 9.86% of total freshwater resources is in the form of groundwater and it is about 35 to 50 times that of surface water supplies. So here 9.86% of total fresh water. So this resource is from the groundwater. It is from the groundwater. The layer of sediment or rock, so that is highly permeable. So that is highly permeable and contains water. It is called an aquifer. So aquifer means it is a layer of sediment or rock. It is a layer of sediment or rock that is highly permeable to water. Highly permeable to water and it contains water. So that is called as aquifer. So the groundwater table rises or falls depending on the factors such as rainfall, absorption by the plants, human activity and topography. So the groundwater table, it can rises or falls. It can be depending on the factors such as rainfall, absorption by the plants and human activity and topography. So aquifer, what is aquifer? So aquifers again two types: unconfined aquifers, confined aquifers. Unconfined aquifers and confined aquifers. Unconfined aquifers, so these which are overlaid by permeable earth materials and they are recharged by water seeping down from above in the form of rainfall and snow melt. So unconfined aquifers. So these are overlaid by permeable earth materials. So these can be recharged. So from the rainfall and snow melt. So whereas unconfined aquifers, so these are sandwiched between two impermeable layers. So these are not permitted. So here these are impermeable layers, so of rock and sediments. So these are confined aquifers. These are sandwiched between two impermeable layers of rock or sediment. So these are recharged only in those areas where the aquifer intersects the land surface. So these can be recharged by rainfall and snowmelt, and these can be recharged only in those areas where the aquifer intersects the land surface, where the aquifer intersects the land surface. So sometimes the recharged area is hundreds of kilometers away from the location of the well. Sometimes the recharged area, it is hundreds of kilometers away from the location of the well. So here aquifers, two types, unconfined aquifers and confined aquifers. And unconfined aquifers, these are overlaid by permeable materials, and these can be recharged by rainfall and snowmelt. And confined aquifers, these are sandwiched between two impermeable layers of rock or sediments, and these can be recharged only those areas where the aquifer intersects with the land surface. So effects of groundwater usage. So what are the effects of groundwater usages? So here many effects are there. So many effects of groundwater usages are there. So first one is lowering of water table. Lowering of the water table. Excessive pumping can lower the groundwater table. Excessive pumping of water, it can lower the groundwater table. So it can cause the wells to no longer be able to reach groundwater. So lowering the water table. So it will excessive pumping. Excessive pumping of water, it can lower the groundwater table, and it can cause wells to no longer be able to reach groundwater. So increased cost. Second one is increased cost. As the water table lowers, so we know that as the longer water table lowers, the water must be pumped farther to reach the surface. So we have to pump farther to reach the surface. So we have to use more energy for that. So in extreme cases, using such a well can be cost prohibitive. So because of lowering of water table, so we have to use more energy to pump the water from the farther region. So we have to pay the more price for the water table, for the taking of water table from the water table. So as the water table lowers, the water must be pumped farther to reach the surface, and we have to use more energy. And in extreme cases, using such a well can be cost prohibitive. So third one is reduced surface water supplies. Groundwater and surface water are connected. So we know that the groundwater and surface water, they are connected. So when groundwater is overused, the lakes, streams and rivers, so these are connected to the groundwater, they can also have their supply diminished. The supply of lakes, streams and rivers, that can be diminished by the lowering of water table. So the lowering of water table, it can reduce the surface water supplies. So groundwater, we know that groundwater and surface water, they are connected to each other. So when groundwater is overused, the lakes, streams, rivers, so the groundwater, that can also have so their supply is diminished. So because of groundwater usage, more usage of groundwater. So land subsidence. So this is also one of the effect of groundwater usage. So land subsidence. So the land subsidence occurs when there is a loss of support below ground. So this is most often caused by human activities, mainly from the overuse of groundwater. So when the soil collapses, compacts and drops. So fifth one is water quality concerns. So excessive pumping in coastal areas can cause the salt water to move inward and upward. So resulting in salt water contamination of water supply. So we can result salt water contamination. So due to these water quality also changes because of the groundwater usage. So what are the floods? So what is mean by flood? A flood is an overview of what overflow of water. Flood is an overflow of water. So whenever a magnitude of flow of water exceeds the carrying capacity of the channel, so within its banks. So flood is an overflow of water whenever the magnitude of flow of water exceeds the carrying capacity of the channel within its banks. So deforestation, overgrazing, mining, rapid industrialization, global warming, etc., have also contributed largely to sharp rise in the instance of floods, which otherwise it is a natural disaster. So what are the causes of floods? Heavy rainfall and sudden melting of ice, insufficient water channel capacity of rivers, construction of buildings, roads, which prevents infiltration of water into soil. Construction of building, roads, which prevents infiltration of water into soil. So deforestation, overgrazing and mining increases the runoff from rains and hence increases the flood level. So soil erosion, loss of vegetation would lead to flooding due to heavy rain. So these are the causes of floods: heavy rainfall and sudden melting of ice, insufficient water channel capacity of rivers, construction of buildings, roads, which prevents infiltration of water into soil, deforestation, overgrazing, mining increases the runoff from the rains, hence increases the flood level. Soil erosion and loss of vegetation would lead to flooding due to heavy rain. So what are the effects of floods? Flood water brings various diseases. Flood kills human lives, aquatic and wildlife habitats are destroyed by floods. So we know that flood water brings various diseases. This flood kills human lives. So this flood kills human lives and it causes various diseases. Aquatic and wildlife habitats are destroyed by floods. Aquatic as well as wildlife habitats are destroyed by floods. So these lead to loss of biodiversity due to migration of wildlife species to the adjoining areas. So flood causes economic loss of crops, loss of livestock and property damages. Flood causes economic loss of crops, loss of livestock and property damage. So drainage system and public transport systems get disrupted by the flood. So here this will causing inconvenience and discomfort to the common public. Flood can cause slitting of dams, damage of bridges and damage of hydropower plants. Agriculture produce can be submerged under flood water. So this will cause financial loss of community. So many effects are there due to floods. So this will cause various diseases and it will flood will kills the human lives. So it is dangerous to aquatic and wildlife, and it is also causes economic loss of crops, loss of livestock and property damage like slitting of dams, damage of bridges, damage of roads, damage of hydropower plants, and the agriculture produce this can be submerged under flood water. So this will cause financial loss of community. How to manage the flood? So this is known as flood management. So here construction of dams and reservoirs is an effective method for controlling floods. Construction of dams and reservoirs is an effective method. So it is an effective method. Construction of dams and reservoirs, it is an effective method of controlling floods. So, and once meteorological information can give enough time to active disaster management systems. So it is advanced meteorological information can give enough time to active disaster management systems. Hydro engineering operations in flood affected areas for proper diversion of flood water, and it is construction of floodways and reserving green zone on the river banks. Construction of dams and reservoirs in the effective method of controlling floods, advanced meteorological information that can give enough information, enough time to active disaster management systems, hydro engineering operations in flood affected areas for proper diversion of flood water, and we have to construct construction of floodways and reserving the green zone on the river banks. So what is drought? Drought is scarcity of water. Drought occurs due to inadequate rainfall, late arrival of rains, excessive withdrawal of groundwater. So some reasons are there. So these are occurs. Droughts can occur due to inadequate rainfall, late arrival of rains, excessive withdrawal of groundwater. Scarcity of water for normal needs of agriculture, livestock, industry or human population may be termed as drought. So scarcity of water, it is nothing but drought. Scarcity of water, so for normal needs of agriculture, livestock, industry and human population, this can be termed as drought. Drought, it is understood from dry weather which persists long enough to produce a serious hydrological imbalance leading to damage of plants, animals and human life. Types of droughts. So many types of droughts are there. Meteorological droughts. These droughts refers to an extended period of dry weather patterns. It is a drought. It can refers to an extended period of dry weather patterns. Hydrological drought. So this drought refers to low water supply in our rivers, lakes, aquifers and other reservoirs that often follows meteorological drought. So agriculture drought occurs when water shortage significantly damages or destroys agriculture crops. So this is agriculture drought. So ecological drought is the most recently defined type of drought and refers to widespread ecological damage caused by lack of soil moisture. So this is caused by lack of soil moisture. Socioeconomic drought. Socioeconomic drought, this is refers to when a water shortage affects the supply and demand of drought commodities such as water, food grains and fish. Socioeconomic drought means it can reverse water shortage, so that affects supply and demand of drought commodities such as water, food grains and fish. So these are types of droughts. So what are the causes of droughts? When annual rainfall it is below normal and less than evaporation, drought occurs. When annual rainfall is below normal or less than evaporation, the drought occurs. Intensive agriculture and over exploitation of water resources by digging wells or bore wells for high productivity has turned drought prone areas into desert. So high population also lead drought. Our population growth leads to poor land use and worsens the situation. So deforestation leads to desertification and droughts. We know that deforestation, it leads to desertification and droughts. Deforestation leads to the topsoil exposed to erosion and by heavy rains, wind and sun. Thus, the top layer of soil rich in nutrients get washed away, making soil unproductive. So, eroded soils can exhibit a droughty tendency. So, what are the effects of droughts? Drought impacts. So, this can have effect on agriculture, ecosystem, manufacturing, public health, wildfire management and energy. So in agriculture, farms, ranches and grazing land suffer and increases the cost of their products. In agriculture, farms, ranches and grazing land suffer and it can increase the cost of their products. It will harms the ecosystem, harms the fish, wildlife and plants as well as the benefits these ecosystems provide. Manufacturing interruptions in the water supply and can result in a reduction of productivity or closure of facilities. It will affect on public health. So it is decrease of water can lead to an increase of illness. Decrease of water, it can lead to an increase of illness. So here wildlife management, dry, hot, windy weather, this will combined with dried out vegetation can lead to more large scale wildfires. So this can wildfire management. So this will affect the wildfire management. So dry, hot, windy weather combined with vegetation, dried out vegetation can lead the more large scale wildfire. So this will affect the wildfire management. So energy. Production of all types of energy requires water and drought can severely impact energy systems and prices. So this will impact the energy also because for the production of any energy sources, so we need water. So because of drought, the cost of this energy will increases. So this will impact on agriculture. The drought have an impact on agriculture, public health, ecosystems, wildfire management, energy and manufacturing. So droughts and what can damages. So damages due to droughts. So we have direct damage and indirect damage. So loss of income, social dislocation. So feminine malnutrition, death. So these are direct damages due to droughts. Loss of income, social dislocation and malnutrition or death. So indirect damage is loss of rural urban revenues. Loss of rural and urban revenues and fire hazard, loss of water access. Loss of water access, fire hazards. So these are indirect damages due to droughts. How to manage the drought? Management of drought. So indigenous knowledge in control of droughts and desertification is very useful for dealing with drought problems. Rainwater harvesting program is very useful technique used to conserve water and control drought. So rainwater harvesting program. So this is very useful technique used to conserve water and control drought. So construction of large capacity reservoirs. This is also one of the most important part of management of drought. So construction of large capacity reservoirs. So this is essential in drought prone areas. So rainwater harvesting program and construction of large capacity reservoirs, it is essential in drought prone areas. Modern irrigation techniques. So another one is modern irrigation techniques like drip irrigation. It is very useful to conserve water and avoid. It is very useful to conserve water and it avoid wastage of water usage. So drip irrigation, it is also very important part in management of drought. It is very useful to conserve water and avoid wastage. So afforestation activities, it can also improve the potential of water in drought prone areas. Afforestation activities also improves the potential of water in drought prone areas. Mixed cropping, dry farming, mixed cropping and dry farming. So these are suitable methods that minimizes the risk of crop failure in dry and drought prone areas. Mixed cropping and dry farming. So these two are suitable methods so that can minimizes the risk of crop failure in dry and drought prone areas. Afforestation activities, modern irrigation techniques and mixed cropping and dry farming. So these are very suitable methods. So for in drought prone areas. Dams. So the construction of dams has their own benefits and drawbacks. So the construction of Dams and construction of dams, these will have their own benefits and also drawbacks. So dams are built for storing water. So we know that. So dams are built for storing of water. The stored water is used for irrigation, hydroelectric power generation, and for flood control. The stored water, this can be used for irrigation, hydroelectric generation of hydroelectric power, and flood control. So, for example, we know that so many dams are there. So, Nagarjuna Sagar Dam and Krishna River between Guntur and Nalgonda, Srisailam Dam and Krishna River in Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh, Sardar Sarovar Dam and Narmada River, so in Tapi district, Gujarat. So, these are dams, examples of dams. So, what are the benefits of dams? Dams are used to control flood and store flood water. So, these are what are the uses, what are the benefits. So, dams are used to control floods and this can store flood water. So, dams can also be used for diverting part or all of the water from the river into canals. So, this can also be used for diverting part or all of the water. Part of the water or all of the water from the river into canals. So dams are used for agriculture purposes and farming purposes. So an important use of dams is it is used for hydroelectric power generation. It is used for hydroelectric power generation. Dams are also used for recreational purposes. Used for recreational purposes, navigation and fishery. Navigation and fishery can be developed in the dam areas and this can, we know that this can generate electricity, that is hydroelectric electricity, and this will provide drinking water. So the dams are used to control flood and store flood water. It can be used for diverting all of the water or part of the water from the river to canals. It can be used for agriculture purposes. These can be used for the dams or the water from the water dams. The dams, this can be used for the generation of hydroelectric power, and this can be used. This will provide the drinking water. So we have drawbacks and benefits of the dams. So what are the problems of dams? Constructing dams would lead to environmental degradation. So we have drawbacks as well as benefits because of the construction of dams. So these are the problems of dams. Constructing dams would lead to environmental degradation. So deforestation can cause loss of habitat and loss of biodiversity. For the construction of dams, we have to deforest. We have to do deforestation. So this deforestation can cause loss of habitat and loss of biodiversity. Constructing the dam results in displacement of several villages, communities, loss of agricultural land. It will take, because of constructing dam, it will result in displacement of several villages, communities, loss of agriculture land. So dams harm the environment. So water is lost through evaporation and seepage. So the water, it is lost through evaporation and seepage. Dams fill with sediment and this can change the geomorphology of the river. Dam filled with. So these dams will fill with sediment. This can change the geomorphology of the river. So dams can be used, the dams can be unsafe and this can be kill thousands of lives. So the construction dams, it would lead to the environmental degradation, deforestation cause the loss of habitat and loss of biodiversity. Construction dam results in displacement of several villages, communities and loss of agricultural land. So it will change the geomorphology of river. So the water is also wasted through the evaporation and seepage and this is unsafe and it can kill thousands of lives. Thank you so much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.